Behold, the face you make after seeing a ghost. But the difference here is that the market value of your paranormal encounter doesn't even come close to this painting. Or maybe it does. I don't know your life. The Scream by Edvard Munch has become a staple of modern art. It has been parodied to portray everything from political figures to cartoon characters. But what makes it such an iconic work of art? Let's head to the late 19th century to find out. In Norway, a child named Edvard Munch loses his mother at an early age, and in his teen years rebels against his conservative, overbearing father. Inspired by the local nihilist, Hans Jaeger, he takes to bohemianism and starts pursuing arts, an unholy profession according to his father. He enrolls in the Royal School of Art and Design in Christiania, now Oslo, and dabbles in Impressionism and Naturalism. However, upon finding Impressionism too superficial and methodical to express his inner turmoil, he starts ping-ponging through different styles. He hones his craft to a unique pedigree, enabling it to express his deepest desires and fears vividly. Munch arrived in Paris in the late 1880s and was exposed to various upcoming artists. Paris at that time was the artistic hub of Europe. Any and all novelties passed through the French city. Over the years, he became a big fan of figures like Gauguin, Van Gogh, and Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec, who defied academic conventions and opted for personal styles. Gauguin's belief that art was human work and not an imitation of nature was particularly inspirational for the up-and-comer. He continued experimenting with different styles, including the pointillism of Georges Seurat. In December 1889, his father passed away, and the artist was beset by suicidal thoughts. In 1891, he painted this picture, a significant step beyond Impressionism and into synthetism. Someone noticed the painting in Oslo and invited him to Berlin, where he became acquainted with a slew of writers, artists, and thinkers. Around the same time, he experienced heartbreak and began working on his Frieze of Life series. It started as a collection of 6 paintings. If you think he was having a breakout season, hold your horses because you ain't seen nothing yet. In 1893, Edvard Munch, the glum Norwegian, dropped this bad boy. Considering that Munch was going through his emo phase, it's unsurprising that he would paint something like this. At first glance, it seems his mental faculties are failing him. He's going crazy and his world is coming apart at the seams. No one would fault such a reading, but the inspiration for the painting might have been rather innocent by comparison. In his diary, he wrote, "One evening I was walking along a path. The city was on one side and the fjord below. I felt tired and ill. I stopped and looked out over the fjord. The sun was setting and the clouds turning blood red. I sensed a scream passing through nature. It seemed to me that I heard the scream. I painted this picture, painted the clouds as actual blood. The color shrieked. This became the scream." The story goes that he was walking with a couple of friends, which, looking at this painting, is hard to believe he had. According to the man himself, the sky suddenly turned red. His friends kept walking as he stood still to take the scene in. Now, as to whether the sky really became red or if it was a stroke of expressionistic genius is still debated. Some theorists claim that the artist witnessed reddish nacreous clouds during the sunset. Others hypothesize it was merely an artistic device inspired by the nearby slaughterhouse and lunatic asylum. That makes a ton of sense, actually. Here's another interesting little nugget. His sister was housed at the asylum. Add to that the artist's philosophy of exteriorizing his interior self, and boom, you have your answer. Some people have even theorized that a volcano that turned the skies red 10 years prior might have inspired the painting. Some interesting conjecture backs the reason for thinking it was an artistic invention. Scholars believe that he had a borderline personality disorder. He tragically lost most of his family and was an alcoholic. But accounts of his behavior suggest an erratic attitude. He struggles hard. Good luck with your struggles, lonely Norwegian. Holger Drachmann wrote about him in 1894. So is he, the troubled artist, the subject of the painting? Probably, but look at how he's painted himself. Some historians believe that the person in the painting was actually modeled after a Peruvian mummy he saw in Paris. Or even if he did not see it directly, he would have come into contact with it through different sources, like Gauguin's works. Here is an 1888 painting by Gauguin titled Human Misery, Grape Harvest at Aries. Notice any similarities? Gauguin used this pose in many paintings. And Munch used the pose in multiple paintings too, 4 to be precise. The first version of the Scream was exhibited for the first time in 1892. A pastel version from the same year is most likely a preliminary study. Then there's a pastel from 1895 and a final version from 1910. You know what the 4 versions of a trendy work mean, don't you? 4 times the opportunities to steal it. The painting has been stolen a ton of times. It was first stolen in 1994 during the Winter Olympics. The painting was shifted from its original position, and the thieves acknowledged the gallery's discretion with a short note. "Thanks for the poor security." The National Gallery in Oslo refused to pay the ransom of $1 million. So how did this painting get recovered? A police sting operation recovered this undamaged, if you can believe it. 4 men were convicted of the crime, one of whom had previously stolen Munch's Love and Pain, 1988. 10 years later, some robbers decided to commemorate the memory of the original theft. Masked gunmen entered the Munch Museum in Oslo and stole the Scream and the Madonna. But don't worry, they got caught in 4K. Okay, maybe not 4K, but a bystander photographer did take their picture. Once again, the police started looking for the criminals. For almost a year, there were no major breakthroughs, no signs of either the criminals or the paintings. So they offered a reward of 2 million Norwegian kroner for relevant information. No need to do the math. It's a lot. A few months after convicting 3 men for the crime in 2006, the government announced that the paintings were recovered. They were in fairly good condition, and restoration work began to restore them to their original glory. These 2 stories skyrocketed the painting's value, but the real shock came in 2012, when it broke the record for the most expensive artwork sale. The 1895 pastel version of the Scream sold for a whopping $120 million at a Sotheby's auction in London. That figure has been surpassed multiple times since then, but the painting's reputation has not wavered. Modern pop culture continues to reference it. The mask from Wes Craven's slasher film Scream was inspired by it. Even the film's title references it. Andy Warhol made silkscreen prints of the Scream because why not? Today it remains the object of discussion. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. What do you think of the Scream? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'll see you in the next one.